Hey everyone, Joe Carroll here today. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to continue with the kind of the theme we've been doing where we pull in some multi-tracks in various genres and just kind of mix on them and try to make them sound great with minimal tools, minimal processing, because sometimes it really doesn't take a lot to get it done. And a couple weeks ago, I filmed a video called Mixing Rock, and I used the Harrison 32C console strip plugin inside of Pro Tools, and I had a blast. I mean, it just sounded so good. I hope I've got a lot of comments about everyone downloading those multi-tracks and having a good time with them. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying those multi-tracks. But that said, I've also been getting a lot of requests for, hey, would you use some other DAWs? We'd like to see the flow and you've mentioned quite a few, because I know not everyone uses Pro Tools like what I've had in the other videos. And just recently, because I was using that Harrison 32C plugin, I reached out to Harrison. You may remember I did a tour of their facility about a year ago with Produce Like a Pro, so I got to know the guys a little bit, and I reached out to them about trying to do some plugin giveaways when I did that video. And they said, you know what? Hey, it's kind of on the low. Keep this on the lowdown, but we're getting ready to launch Mixbus 11. And what if you did a mix video on it? And I was like, I'm down. That's perfect, because I've been getting asked to do some alternate DAW style videos anyway. So if we look at the screen, I already have a song imported. We've done, let's see, what have we done? We did rock. We did some singer-songwriter pop. We did some kind of groove-based jazz. Today we're going to have some kind of upbeat modern country, real instruments, acoustics, bazookies, real drums. It's gonna be a blast. This is a great song, and I think you're gonna love it. But we're inside, as you can see, the new Mixbus 11. So this may be the first time that a lot of you have seen it, and it still looks like Mixbus 10 that I had prior to this, because I've used it a handful of times. But there's also quite a slew of new improvements, and I'll try to touch on a few of those for those of you that are already kind of used to Mixbus. But right now, what I've got is, I should mention that what I like about Mixbus, the reason I bought it in the first place a couple years back, was to have something that actually was like mixing on a console. And that's what this whole series has been about. And you can see that it's laid out. Fader at the bottom, a trim knob, a mix trim knob, like a lot of consoles had back in the day. Those of us that worked on those consoles, loved that. But we can see our sends right here, or we can choose various other things that we want to look at if we want to start dialing in EQs and compressors and such. But also, we can change the order here, and I want you to see, I've already kind of pre-grouped and pre-named some of my subgroups, but you can see that they're grouped up here, right? And I've got the color, the faders colored, which is a preference you can set. But look, we've got 3 keyboard tracks. Watch this. I just go, and let's see, what color do we want? How about orange? Let's use orange. And bam, I have a group now. You can see I can solo all 3 of these, move them up and down together. That's just how easy it is to create a group. And you can see that it's I can label it over here, send it to its own bus. Today we're going to have our loops and kind of hand claps and things going here, drums and bass, acoustics, electrics, keys, and we have a few verbs set up here. Right here, verb 1, or drum verb 1, 2, and a delay. And another cool thing about Mixbus is that it has drive built in. Oh, and I will say right here, when I created that group, it's going to I'm going to route it to the keys group and take it out of the stereo bus. So that's just a quick and easy things. But you can see the little lights activated up here, telling you which bus over here it's going to hit. But I don't want to talk too long before we get to diving in, because I know that's what you guys are here to see. So let's go to the edit window, and let's go up here to the intro. You can kind of get a feel for the song. And right now, every track is at unity. Everything is in either hard stereo, right up the middle in mono. And let's just get an idea of the song we're working on. great song. It kind of has that Keith Urban kind of vibe, but not. But this guy is going to be compared to Keith Urban anyway because he's an incredible guitar player. All these acoustics and electrics and the just scorching guitar solo you are going to hear is my friend Caleb Lovely, and you can go stream this song on all the platforms. It's called "Oh My Goodness." I had a great time recording this with him, I don't know, a couple years ago. But I'm going to get up into one of the choruses so you can kind of see how where we're going. So it doesn't sound good yet, but you can tell the raw ingredients are there to make it sound great. And one thing I could see right here, my limiter, my safety limiter was lighting up. So with all the faders at unity at their current gain levels of the individual audio files are adding up to in excess of, we're clipping basically. And so this is there to just kind of protect us. It's a final limiter to make sure we don't go in the red, but we're hitting this pretty hard. So we have a lot of work to do, but we're going to have a good time doing it. So let's just kind of start with our drums. I'm going to turn on that whole group and just kind of get an idea. I'm going to kind of shrink the bus view down here a little bit. And let's just kind of start dialing in everything in. And I'm going to turn the groups off temporarily just so I can kind of move each fader individually. You know what? I'm gonna do one at a time. Do one at a time here. Oop. Turn that group off. There we go. This isn't the DAW that I use every day, so I'm going to be a little slow at times, maybe make a couple errors here and there, but bear with me. Let's find somewhere the toms are playing and kind of get them at a good level. Back up just a little bit. Let's pan them just a little bit. I don't like to hard pan toms. I think we've talked about this before, but most of the time, unless I'm syncing the video, I mix drummer's perspective. That is not a rule. That's not a right or wrong thing. You do what feels right to you. To me, maybe it's because I am a drummer. I feel like most people who care actually just kind of prefer drummer's perspective because they envision themselves playing it along with it, and it makes sense in their mind. But that is not a rule. But when it comes to panning the toms, in a song like this, I'm gonna have hard panned acoustics, electrics, and lots of things going on. The drum room will be hard pan. So the toms, it sounds really odd to me if they come from the extremes. So you'll see here I'm going. This is a 3-piece kit, a kick with 2 toms, and so you'll see I'm going just a little off to the left on the rack tom, and a little off to the right, but a little more on the floor tom because that's what makes sense to us as we're listening. And it's also going to match the positioning in the overheads, which is not it's not to be overlooked because how the phasing relationship and things happen when it's panned to the right perspective with the overheads. Everything just kind of glues itself and comes together better. Okay, I can see my stereo bus meter right here. I'm hitting right around analog 0. So I'm going to turn my group back on and just trim these faders just a little bit. And we could, there's various ways to skin a cat, as they say. We could also use the trim knob here, and maybe we'll do that with some other groups. So like leave the faders at unity and just kind of trim it to be in the position that we want to. Because I know some people like to work that way, and Mixbus makes that super easy to do. Let's go over here and start working on these hand claps and things. In fact, you know what? Let's do that here. Let's just trim everything. Okay, I finally heard it. I was like, where's that guy gonna play? I'll go up here to the edit screen, and okay, they play right here. It looks like. Let's hear them in action. Go back to the mix screen. Ooh, that's a big one. Okay, now let's go back to the record or the edit screen, find out what this sonar blip is. Oh, I remember this guy. This is cool. It's a sonar tuned to the key of the song, and it comes in just this one little moment for a little special effect. Maybe I feel like there's a submarine below me now. All right, so let's start adding in the acoustic guitars. Okay, we're gonna have some panning to do here. Let's turn our group off temporarily, and let's figure out who's playing what role here. We may be able to even be able to tell by looking at the waveforms. Let's see. So we have a stereo acoustic, we have a bouzouki and a mandolin and a high string. Okay, so he gave us a lot of options here for our rhythms. So this one, we're going to leave the main acoustic guitar in stereo. Okay, this is a high string. Let's see. And let's use the keyboard shortcut to unsolo everything and listen to just this high string here. Okay, so let's just put him off to one side, just a little bit away from where the hi-hat's going to be. It's kind of my first instinct thought here. And let's see, let's mute the electric guitars and the keyboards. I'm getting just a little above the stereo bus, or I mean a little above 0. So we're still in a good spot. And if I feel like I need to trim it at some point later, there's an easy global key command to do that, luckily. Okay, you can see I had my group on, so I went to pan 1, and I panned, or trim 1, and I trimmed them all. So let me just turn the, once I get them to where I want them, I can just turn the groups back on real easily. I feel like I was wanting to pan these two guys. Yeah, these are definitely the two main electric guitars. Okay, so let's go kind of hard, but not full on hard. Let's see what that sounds like. I'm liking it. Okay, let's see what we have in keyboard world here. Let's just do the trim thing, put them where they go. So I definitely kind of want that pulsing synth thing up and noticeable, and we can do some EQ work to make it noticeable. But that does lend to the modern feel that he was going for. Yeah, and I can see that we're still hitting our stereo bus, hard enough that we're getting that limiter to insert. So we're definitely going to want to back everything down globally just a little bit. Let me expand this view right here into our subgroup masters on our buses. You'll see we have loops, drums, bass, acoustics, electrics, and let's kind of see where they're hitting. Okay, I'm pretty good with everything I'm seeing on those. So I think even though we have multiple ways of getting there, so to speak, to trim level going into our stereo bus, whether it's on the individual faders, the subgroups, we could pull these down a dB or two. But I think I'm going to do the path of least resistance here, the easiest thing. And that's just to trim the stereo master fader. See, we got a trim right here on our stereo master. And let's pull it back until we see the VU is in a nice, comfortable spot. The limiter is not keeping us from clipping. I would just assume that not be a thing. So let's get a little more headroom. I think I'm going to start right there. So I trimmed it by 3 dB, and I'm hovering real consistently around the 0, and it looks like just a little above on the analog meter, which is a great spot for me. So let's actually start talking about doing some mixing, and let's find some things that are our least favorite or most offensive items to us. What we'll do is we'll still kind of tweak on some faders here and there. We can collapse these a little bit if we want to, and there's also this little shortcut right here. We can let's say we know we want to see, anytime we pull that open, we want to see all of our subgroups right there. Those first one, we can leave it at that view and then just toggle it off and on, and it's going to come back exactly what we want to see. So right now we know those are in a safe spot, so let's just kind of buy ourselves more real estate right here. Okay, so let's start having some fun with EQs. And let's get this kick drum. Okay, so remember right here we have all kinds of things that we can do. We can change the order right here, but by clicking right here we can see our EQ across all the individual channels, and we can use the Harrison if we want to, or bam, we can use an SSL. So we can really do whatever we want to. And you'll see it is a little small. That was one of the things about Mixbus 10. I remember tweaking the knobs and having to be really focused on what I was doing. And sometimes we just want to see a bigger thing. So here in 11, you'll see this new button right here. And there's also a keyboard shortcut for this, but all of our tools get substantially larger, and it's a little easier on the eyes and a little easier to work with. So we can change that out right here as well, like I was showing you. And let's just start dialing in the kick drum. Let's find some ugly slap, kind of low mids. Let's add some attack. I don't think we really need any air up there, so let's don't do it. But we could, if we wanted to, we could turn this to 60 cycles. And if you want to know exactly what frequency you're selecting, right now it's kind of very analog, where you just turn knobs till it sounds good. Analog consoles, we didn't know exactly where we were. We were just we knew in the ballpark of where we were. But if you want to know exactly, you look up here in this little block, and we're going to find 60 cycles. And of course, we're in shelving mode right now by default, which only goes down to 95 cycles. Let's turn that little bell knob on. And now we can dial in exactly what we want. And I think somewhere around 60 is going to be beautiful. Okay, wonderful. Now remember, we also have this low guy. it's cool because it adds a little bit of the electronic, modern element into it, which this artist really, really likes. But I don't think we need the upper mids. I think I'm going to go up here and to the high pass filter on that channel. And I'm just going to keep the sub. So the reason I bring that up is because that limits how much low end we actually need out of the kick drum itself, because it's playing with the kick drum for the entire song. It's a 4 on the floor kind of thing. Let's get a little more point out of that key. Okay, and I think the other thing that I want to do now is I want to go back to the normal view, and I want to turn my groups on. Or, you know what? Let's do it this way, just because I know that we can. Let's go right here to our bus window, and let's turn our acoustics and our electrics down a little bit. Now that leaves a little more room to hear some of the other. I had them loud and proud in my rough. Sounds great, but let's go back to, I mean, it's a great recorded drum. So let's choose the snare, and we see it's all fresh and zeroed out for us, ready to go. Let's add some attack. Right in there. The reason I'm not going higher than that is because I'm going to add a high shelf too, so that's going to affect how the presence of the attack that we just added sounds. And we can turn it off and on and audition it to see before and after. Turn a little filter on, get rid of that stuff below 80 cycles. Let's hear how that's gelling with the bottom. Okay, the snare bottom needs a lot of love. Let's add some of that white noise snap sound. Right in there. Now let's put the two together. Oh, that's our snare picture. Let's hear it in the mix. Okay, let's see what the overheads are doing. Okay, let's add a little top end to that. We have 3 different compressors we can choose from, and let's use the middle one as far as how aggressive it gets. Let's turn the attack down to 4 milliseconds, and the release, let's turn it to about 100-ish, just in the ballpark. And the ratio is currently a little hard, so let's go about 4-to-1. Yeah, it's kind of helping those cymbals, or the backbeat of the snare drum rather, stay in a nice spot. All right, let's start working on some of the electric guitars. We can scroll right here. Actually, sounds really good. I think this guy maybe is the one that needs a little more bite. Right in there sounds pretty good. Okay, Okay, the next thing that my ear is kind of being drawn to is the fact that this synth part right here, it has quite a low end or low mid presence that's robbing a lot of that real estate and headroom that should be available for acoustic guitar, bouzouki, mandolin, and such. That really needs those things need to pop because that's the artist, and we're trying to showcase the fact that he's such a multi instrumentalist, singer, writer, just a uber talented guy that makes me mad because I want that. I want to be able to play as many things as Caleb does. But what we'll do is let's select that channel. And by default, we have the Harrison up. One thing I will tell you about the Harrison console is it's the EQ is proportional, right? So that means the deeper our cut or the more that we gain, boost up our selection on the EQ, the more narrow it gets at the top, which is an awesome tool. That's what we, a lot of us, API is a great example of an EQ that has a proportional makeup that we all just fell in love with. The Harrison has that same trait. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the SSL because see, I have this Q knob that I can use. So since I know I want to make a pretty wide reduction in the low mids on this guy, so we can just easily switch tools. So let's go kind of to a higher Q value and boost something up here so we can really hear the frequency that we're selecting. Ooh, that's a little too salty. Probably right in there. Let's also take the high pass filter and get rid of a lot of low end that's just unnecessary for the role that this guy's playing. So now we have a lot more of the upper mids where the attack is, where kind of where you hear the note that's going to be prominent in the mix. And let's see if we even boost that just a little bit. Right there. And then what we could do, let's come in just for fun. Let's come in with our limiter that we have available on the channel strip, and let's kind of trim off a little of that attack. So we're left with more of the note and less of the point, if that makes sense. Because you don't want them to hear just the point. We've got plenty of transient, things going on between the drums and all the loopy things, as well as the acoustic guitars. So let's see what this does. Okay, cool. Now, one thing that I want to talk about real quick, let's go back to the full screen here, is that you will notice another thing that sets Mixbus apart from some of the other tools out there is the fact that we have a drive knob or button rather that we can insert on every individual channel to give some analog mojo. And let's look at let me extend this view right here, and you'll see that we also have that on the individual buses, and it is on by default, but we can control the amount here. So we have a couple different flavors, and in the yellow, as we see it right here, it's kind of subtle, but we can, if we want to, let's just mute everything except the drums, and let's kind of drive into it. You can hear that for sure, or we can just turn it off. And this is, of course, we've been mixing with that drive turned on. And we turn it back on in its default position. You want a little bit more? You just give it. Okay, see, I can hear the transient being rounded there, and I kind of want the transient to be nice and punchy. So we get a little of the extra warmth of the analog mojo, but I don't really want it to alter the transients too much. But if we want to get really heavy-handed, see, we have this orange version here. It's just, in fact, it's just a different. Let me put them on kind of heavy, and let me switch between them, and you can kind of hear it. It's just different flavors. Now, I said get it heavier handed a while ago, and I should clarify that a little bit. This is more of like a soft clip kind of thing, whereas this adds like a tube tape style saturation effect, which I quite like the orange actually. Okay, let's go with that for now. But if we want to, the option of turning it on every individual track if we want to. And you know, so I know I've got a few friends that use Mixbus, and they basically just go ahead and start with the drive on in its default state here, like it comes, and then they just start with the drive on everything. Which, I mean, that's a cool trick. You're going to get more, just more analog saturation, which can be good or bad. Depends. You know, what genre are we mixing? What's the final result expectation? Plus, of course, we have our stereo bus here where we could put in not only the Harrison plugins that come with it, but any third-party plugin you're going to be able to pull in if you like the. For example, I use the Fusion Drive, Vintage Drive from SSL. So if you wanted to bring that in and leave all of these off, or a combination of the two, you're absolutely welcome to do that. Okay, let's start cleaning up a little stuff in our guy. Let's go back to this view right here. Yeah, see, it's kind of low. It's kind of woolly down there. Let's just get rid of that. And let's also take a high pass filter up. Let's add a little high end to it. Now, one thing that got me, I remember using Mixbus 10 and this, the Harrison console strip, you'll see that the booster cut is on the right and the frequency selection is on the left. When you go to the SSL, that console was laid out a little different. And so we have the boost on the left and the frequency selection on the right. So as you're going back and forth, you may find yourself like, you know, it's like, wait, I'm not getting the results that I expect here. And that could be why instead of gaining the boost, you know, you're actually just changing the frequency, and the boost is just sitting there, you know, like, hey, pick me, choose me. So just be aware of that. That's one thing as you're going back and forth between the modules to kind of think about. A lot of low end information that we do not need. Okay, let's take some low mid out of that as well. Right there. And let's add just a little bit of gloss up here to around, somewhere around 10K, 8K. About right there. And I'm going to get rid of even a little bit more super low end, because we've got a lot of frequencies starting to build up. Same thing. We can definitely clear that up. Let's go ahead and add some attack. Let's remove a little of that. That should be good. Okay, since the bouzouki is, if you don't know what that is, that's basically a kind of a large Middle Eastern mandolin. but those small strings, you really hear where he's playing on it. It's very bright, very open sounding, whereas the mandolin is a lot more muted and darker. But these guys have to balance out in the stereo field. So we're going to have to definitely add some more sauce to the mandolin. And maybe on the bouzouki, we take a little of that high end down. Okay, so the mandolin still needs some more mojo. Let's find some some nice pick attack that we can add in there with that high end air, and see if we can balance them out a little bit more. Now we're getting there. Okay, it's a subtle thing, but it's worth mentioning. The acoustic guitar is recorded in stereo. I have a little bit more top end coming out of the right speaker. So what we want to do is make sure that the Bouzouki, which is the brighter of the two hard panned acoustics, is matching or offsetting what the acoustic, not matching, but offsetting what the acoustic is doing. So the high end of both of them are complementing each other. All right, it's getting better now. Let's see. Yeah, we're clearing space. Same thing. That's some air. We may need a little pick attack. Yeah, that 4K jangle kind of thing is kind of cool. Let's hear that in the mix. Yeah, because I really like that counter that it's doing. Listen as I add that in with the other guitars. It's a brilliant part that Caleb played. Those are just strumming the chords for the most part. This guy, listen to it, it's a pattern like da 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 da. Almost kind of filling the role of what a banjo would have played in more traditional country. Caleb, you're a talented dude, man. All right, we do have just kind of a very simple tone shaping EQ built into the stereo bus here if we choose that over a variety of other EQs that we could bring in. But so let's again, kind of broad stroke. Let's add just a little bit of top end. Let's see, the low end is set, it looks like it's centered to 90 cycles. Let's add just a little of that and see what happens to the bottom end. I like it better. I'll add it in. I'll take it. Let's toggle it in and out. All right, cool. Well, let's try the compressor too. Let's see what we want to do here. Let's take a ratio. All right, let's take the ratio. You'll see the numbers are represented down here where it says master. So let's turn that down to about 4:1. Let's do a release. Let's go to around 100 milliseconds. We want this one kind of punchy. And let's do you know what? That attack is probably going to be good, 25 milliseconds or so. And let's get just tickling the light a little. And you'll see the gain reduction that I'm getting right here. So in and out. Very subtle, but you hear after the initial attack of the snare drum, you hear just a little bit of a squeeze, which is a good thing, I think, from where we're sitting right now. And one thing that I did this morning while we were getting set up is I went ahead and built in. Let's change the view here. Yeah, here we go. A couple reverbs that we could bring in along the way. You'll see that I've got drum verb, band 1, band 2, as well as a delay, because Caleb, the mix is so dense with so many things going on. This would not be a big reverb mix by any means. You know, we even have some kind of ambience built into the drums just with the drum room. In fact, let's go back and listen to the drums in solo. Here we go. Turn that off. Now, if we wanted a super dry, tight thing, we just do that. Or we can go somewhere in the middle. I kind of like that middle thing that we're doing right now. You know, there's some ambience in there, but not a ton. All right, so let's solo up the snare drum and let's add, right here, we can just turn this off and on. We can add some reverb. That don't sound bad at all. What was that? I think I used the built-in Harrison reverb. So let's see, that's Studio A. Let me use a little too much just so we kind of hear the quality and the type. I don't hate that right there. That Studio A. Make it a little smaller and use a little less of it. So there's dry. And remember, it's combining with the snare sample and bottom, so we may use a little more than we think, you know, because if we're just going to use it on that one source. Those are kind of already having the effect of reverb on them. So I'm not going to muddy, you know, I'm not going to muddy things up. How about the tom-toms? Let's do this. Let's go back to our edit view, find some places where the tom-tom is playing. Okay, and I don't even think I had EQ'd them yet. We better do that. Okay, so let's bring up I like this view right here. And let's do, well, first of all, what we want to do is find where that nasty head flap is coming. Okay, let's add a little 100-ish or so. Let's get rid of a little under 80-ish. We definitely need some attack. Right there sounds good. Now let's add a little air too. Again, we've talked about this before. It changes the way that the attack feels. Yeah, I like that. We could apply some compression if we wanted to make it pop a little bit. Let's go up to the comp. Let's turn it to the ratio. Remember, it reads out right here. So 4:1. Let's do about 100 milliseconds on the release. The attack, yeah, let's leave it at 20. That should be good. Okay, before and after. Yeah, it's a little more, just a little tightened. Now, we're not getting that auto gain, you know, that in some of our videos, we were using SSL. And you remember, it's got that auto gain, which actually overcompensates, which is part of the sound. But we can accomplish that here too. Yeah. Okay, let's do Tom 2. And we'll click on that. Okay, this one's dark. Let's get rid of some of that. Starting to get better. I don't think we need any low end. In fact, let's just cut out everything below 80, 75 cycles. And we're going to do that same compressor, 4:1-ish, 100 milliseconds-ish, and 20 to 25, that's fine. A little makeup gain. Yeah, that's giving us just a little bit more point because the attack time is allowing the, yeah, that's helping. For sure. I like that better. A little heavier handed. Let's go back and do that heavier handed thing on this one too. A little more. And a little more makeup gain. Yeah, now the toms are starting to speak. Let's get even a little more top end out of this one. Now let's look at reverb on them. So let's see. Let's go. Let's get rid of that view. Go up to drum verb. A little less. There, right there sounds good. Oh, I see. I got this. I had this one on by accident. So I'm like, why is there so much here? There we go. Let's try that in the mix. Okay, you'll see because of all the compression that we've added, which had been actual pretty minimal, but it is making the snare drum jump a little bit more. So the snare drum's a little loud now. Okay, so now the next thing that kind of is standing out to me is the B3 organ. So let's take a look at him. I'll need to scroll to him and find him. Here he is. Let's select him to make sure that we have the right, the right channel strip right here active. A lot of times I add a little bit of like a 2K or something that's below where the guitars are cutting through. Let's do a gentle compressor on him. Let's do, yeah, okay, so like 2 to 1 right here. It's good. For release, let's speed that up to a couple hundred milliseconds or so. Well, okay, 100 is as fast as we can go with this specific model chosen. Remember, you can choose between them, but I'm really wanting to go with this leveler because it's the most forgiving, spongiest, softest guy. Go to around 10 milliseconds or so. Okay, now let's hear that in the mix. Yeah, it's starting to sound more like a record for sure. Absolutely. Let's see. You know what? Let's do this. Let's go up here to this guitar solo. And because Caleb is extremely good guitar player. Like I said, because of that, he probably gets, compared to Keith Urban sometimes, but, that's not a bad talent to get compared to. Okay, so the effects that we're hearing, I'm definitely hearing some effects. But I'm going to go to my sends and I see that I haven't added anything. So that's built in. Of course, we can tell when we hit stop that they all go away immediately. So let's see what makes him kind of pop out of the mix. Okay. Let's see. What do we want to do with him? Let's start playing. We're going to choose him. Let's do an SSL EQ on this one. And let's cut off everything above around 12K for sure. Now let's cut off everything below 100 or so. Although, I mean, there are some low notes that he's picking there in the beginning, so let's go to more like around 90. Okay, so what I want to do, let's play with some compression. And again, you know, you can use any compressor you want to. You can bring in any plug-in, LA3A imitation from Universal Audio, or anything that you want. But I'm kind of just wanting to stick with the tools that's built in, and of course it's cool that the tools are all right here already built in. I don't even have to create this template because it's all already here, which is a pretty cool thing. All right, so let's go to around 4:1. Release. Well, let's just leave it in its default settings. Let's see what it sounds like just as in its default. Not bad at all. I'm going to clean up just a little bit of low-end mud. I'm going to speed the attack up a little bit. Okay, there's still some, hold on. Probably about right there. Let's go kind of broad for now and cut a dB. Let's do this now. Let's go to our other view, to our sends, and let's I've got a couple different band verbs. Let's just kind of play with them. Okay, that would be this guy. Let's listen to some of these things. I don't hate that, really, these small rooms. In fact, I'm going to use too much of it. Crystal space, that sounds interesting. Okay, I think I'm going to use this small room. I like it's kind of bright and slappy. So it kind of puts him in a real space. It's a little too much of it, but I like it. All right, let's add a little bit of delay as well for fun on the electric solo. I've got one active here, and I don't, it's one I've never used. It's the built-in. Remember, you can use any plugin you want to that you're familiar with, but I thought the fact that I'd never used this one would actually be kind of fun, and I want to sync it to the host, and I'm realizing I have never set a tempo yet. So let's do that. Okay, now I know that's a lot, so let's turn the reverb off. We'll need to turn it to 100% wet. Let's turn the dry feature on too. That was cool. I hope some of you guys picked up on that because I want to show you. So along the midway point of the solo, he gets up a little higher, and it's been a little harsh. In fact, it's why I cut that frequency that I cut in the upper mids. It kind of jumps out right there. You know, if I was doing a more detailed mix, I'd maybe bring in some kind of a frequency dependent compressor kind of thing to control that. So listen to it jump. And let me turn the effects back on. That bothers me, that tone. When I turn the drive on, listen, it was a little more manageable. And I'll do it back to back without talking, because I know sometimes people get perturbed because it's like, well, quit talking and we'll listen to the difference. So I rounded the edges of that just a little bit, which is all it needed. It just needed tucked in there just a touch. That was actually really cool. I was not expecting that. All right, but that's you know, again, that's kind of cool as to why that's built in there. And some other DAWs that I haven't tried yet may have that kind of a thing. But I know that's something that, again, a few friends of mine that really are into Mixbus and have been using it a long time. That's one of the things that they really rave about, is having that flavor built in from the beginning. And now let's check our stereo bus now. Actually, let's go up to a point where we're a little louder. Let's go to chorus 2. I'm going to push it until I don't see that, you know, I don't want to see that light. And I'm realizing I've been switching back and forth here, but my markers view up here, I can bounce around from section to section in either window, even in the mix window. I like that. All right, well, let's think about this. What is our next most offensive item, or do we have ourselves a pretty nice sounding little mix? Let's go up here to verse 2. Now, that turnaround. Let's listen one more time. I would put, you know, the fact that these guys are playing that lick. I might put that small acoustic space, or let's find the small acoustic space. I think that may be what we found on this guy. Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit of stuff ringing now. Cool. I mean, it's starting to sound really, really good with just the built-in tools. Just some EQ, mostly the Harrison, but we did activate the 9K in a few spots. Only a couple compressors. If I feel like we used compressors on maybe 5 or 6 items tops. Little stereo bus compression as well. But I really think one of the big deals that's helping us out is all of these drives right here. I know it's subtle, and we can increase the drive on our stereo bus as well and see what that's all about. But I feel like that's causing that analog hand-holding glue thing that sometimes we have to fight to create in the box. That's we can all face that, especially any of us that have ever worked on analog consoles. We can admit that working in the box, we have to fight to get that vibe, right? In our templates, we have to build in quite a few different saturators and tape machines and various things to try to restore that feel to our mixes. Of everything just kind of doing this and everything holding hands and playing nice and soaking into each other. And I kind of feel like I'm getting that right now. And I haven't done any Analog Mojo plugins whatsoever, right? Usually you've seen me use something from Slate, console saturation thing, or the Vintage Drive from SSL, which is actually in my everyday template. That's what I start with on there. I'm not doing any of that. And I usually do it on all my individual groups as well as a stereo bus. And it's just kind of finding a way, and it's just working. Okay, I want just a little more punch out of the kick drum now. So let's see if I can accomplish that here. Let's try that. Yeah, now I have a more definite, solid upper mid-range poke or mid-range poke coming through. All right, well, man, this is a fun song. And I'm going to use this track more in the future because I forgot just how great it is and how talented Caleb is. And that said, Mixbus, I think, has been a lot of fun for me to dive into. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I spend so many hours working that I get really tunnel vision and kind of literally go on autopilot. I was just talking to my assistant about that the other day, working real late one night, coming back in here the next morning. And they're like, "How do you do it?" Because I'm not even thinking about it, and that's not always a good thing. Sometimes trying something new and getting out of the box, or something different, something that we use less, is just really, really good for our brains to absorb and find new ways, new sounds, new things that we would have never found otherwise. And I know for me personally, one of the reasons that I got Mixbus about a year ago when I did is I just got my Atmos system installed finally after a very long process. But they were showing me how easy it's just one of those things. My brain was like, wait a minute, that seems really simple. So knowing that I was going to get Atmos going and I could import my stems or mixes into here to do my panning and things very easily was a big selling feature for me. But that said, we've also been playing with the brand new latest version, Mixbus 11, which is now live. So if you go to Harrison's website or various other retailers where you would buy your software, you're going to find that it's live now. The launch will be, I'm sure they're going to have some various specials and some things going around. So watch the Harrison social media pages to figure out now's the time, click and buy it. Because there's a lot of new, like this one that we're looking at right now. That's brand new, getting the knobs this big. And I love it. That's awesome. So just keep your eyes open on the Harrison website. Mixbus 11, now live, new and improved, and all of that stuff. Insert applause. Guys, thanks for watching, and happy mixing.